This is Tom. Tom is 25 years old. Tom is a good kid. He did everything right. He sat in the front row. He took the AP classes. Tom can tell you the exact date the Civil War. He can explain the Industrial Revolution. He spent months studying for the SATs because he was told it would determine his entire future. He even remembers that the hippocampus is the primary brain structure for storing memories. But right now, Tom is staring at a W-4 tax form, and he feels like he's reading hieroglyphics because while school taught Tom about the mitochondria, it taught him exactly zero about money. So Tom enters the real world, and the confusion starts to settle in. He gets a paycheck, but it's smaller than he thought it would be. Where did FICA go? He spends the weekend dreading Monday. He feels a low-level hum of anxiety every time he opens his banking app. It starts as confusion. Why is rent half my income? Then it becomes frustrating. I work 40 hours a week. Why am I not moving forward? And finally, it settles into a quiet regret. Maybe I'm just bad at this. But Tom isn't lazy. Tom is stuck.
Hi, my name is Ed, and I spend an unhealthy amount of time obsessing over personal finance. Please subscribe and like the video.
See yourself in Tom. You aren't the outlier. You are the norm. Here is the data that school didn't show you. Approximately 50% of U.S. adults are financially illiterate. That number hasn't budged in nearly a decade. And here is the trap. 54% of people feel confident about money. They think they know what they're doing, but when tested, only 16 to 20% actually demonstrate high proficiency. That means nearly half the country is walking through a minefield blindfolded. We know something is wrong. 87% of Americans agree that personal finance should be taught in high schools. We are begging to be taught how to survive. But until the system changes, you have to teach yourself. You might think, if I just made more money, Tom's problems would go away. Let me tell you the story of Iron Mike Tyson. In his prime, Tyson didn't just earn an income. He had an empire. He earned over $400 million. That is more money than 100 people will earn in 100 lifetimes. But in 2003, Tyson filed for bankruptcy. He was $23 million in debt. How do you lose $400 million? You buy Bengal tigers. You buy mansions you never sleep in. You surround yourself with yes men. Tyson had the earning part down. He failed the literacy part. He proved that you can out-earn ignorance, but only for a little while. Now let's look at the flip side. In 1923, a young animator named Walt Disney filed for bankruptcy. He couldn't pay his rent. He was eating beans out of a can. But Walt didn't just work harder. He got literate. He learned about ownership. When he created Mickey Mouse, he made sure he owned everything. He leveraged life insurance policies to fund Disneyland when the bank said no. He understood that money is a tool for creation, not just consumption. So how do you stop the bleeding? We aren't going to give you generic advice like stop buying coffee. That's like trying to bail out the Titanic with a teaspoon. Step 1 is the financial GPS. Imagine trying to drive to a new city, but you refuse to look at where you're starting from. You'd be lost before you even turn the car on. In psychology, this is called the ostrich effect. We bury our heads in the sand because we're terrified that if we look at our bank account, we'll see a disaster. We prefer the anxiety of the unknown over the pain of the truth. You need to do the opposite. You need to turn on the lights. Log in and pull your last 90 days of statements. Why 90? Because 1 month can be a fluke. Maybe you had a birthday or a car repair. But 3 months is a pattern. 3 months doesn't lie. Now you're going to categorize every single line item. You will see the ghosts of your bad decisions, the 2 a.m. taco runs, the subscriptions you forgot to cancel. Don't judge yourself. Just label it. You are a forensic accountant investigating your own life. From this data, you are going to calculate one specific number: your burn rate. This is a startup term. It asks, what is the bare minimum cost to keep the lights on? Rent, utilities, basic groceries, gas to get to work. That's it. Netflix is not survival. Friday drinks are not survival. If you lost your job tomorrow, this is exactly what it costs to exist. Here's the magic. Once you know your burn rate, let's say it's $2,400 a month, the fear disappears. The monster in the closet isn't a monster anymore. It's just a number. You aren't a failure. You just have a math problem. And unlike vague anxiety, a math problem has a solution. Step 2 is building your runway. In aviation, a heavy plane cannot just shoot straight up into the air. It needs distance. It needs speed. It needs a runway to generate lift. In your life, your runway is your liquid savings. And right now, most Americans are trying to take off vertically. If you have $0 saved, you are grounded. When you have no runway, you don't have choices, you have mandates. If your boss disrespects you, you have to take it. If they demand unpaid overtime, you have to nod and smile. If your car breaks down, it's not an inconvenience, it's a financial crisis that ruins your year. Living paycheck to paycheck means you are walking a tightrope without a net. One slip, and it's over. So we go back to the math. Take that burn rate we found in step 1, multiply it by 3. Your first goal isn't a house, it's not a Tesla. It is to buy 90 days of your own life. This is your 3-month shield. It separates you from disaster. But do not leave this money in your checking account. If you see it, you will spend it. Move it to a high-yield savings account, a HYSA. It stays accessible, but it's out of sight. And unlike a normal bank that pays you pennies to save, an HYSA pays you 4 to 5% interest just for parking your cash there. It fights inflation for you. Here is the best part. When you have 3 months of expenses in the bank, your physiology changes. You walk different. You talk different. You have leverage. You don't have to laugh at the bad jokes. You negotiate harder because you aren't afraid of no. You aren't quitting your job yet, but for the first time in your life, you know that you could. And that knowledge, that is true freedom. Step 3 is to build your army. Most people look at $1 and see a way to buy something, a coffee, a tank of gas, a pair of shoes. Wealthy people look at $1 and see an employee. Here is the truth. Your money works harder than you do. It doesn't need sleep. It doesn't need lunch breaks. If you give it the right job, it will work for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, for generations. But right now, your army is sleeping. If you leave your money under a mattress or in a standard checking account, it is slowly dying. We call this inflation. It's the invisible tax that eats 2 to 3% of your wealth every single year. Saving money is great, but you cannot save your way to wealth. You have to grow your way there. You have to wake the army up. So where do you deploy them? You don't need to be a genius. You don't need to pick the next Bitcoin. You buy the haystack. When you invest in the S&P 500 index fund, you are buying a tiny piece of the 500 biggest, most profitable companies in America. If Amazon wins, you win. If Apple wins, you win. You aren't betting on a lucky number. You're betting on the American economy. This brings us to the 8th wonder of the world, compound interest. In the beginning, the growth feels slow. It feels like nothing is happening. But then your interest starts earning interest, and that interest earns interest, and that interest earns interest. Tom invests $500 a month. In 10 years, it's a nice car. In 30 years, though, it's financial freedom. In 40 years, it's a legacy he leaves to his children. School didn't teach you this. They taught you to be a worker bee. They didn't teach you how to own the hive. But now you know. Audit your past, build your runway, deploy your army. The best time to plant this tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is today. Don't just watch this video. Do the work. If you want a step-by-step guide on exactly how to invest that first dollar, click the subscribe button and turn on your notification for my next video. I'll see you in the next one.